But TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited carryover data with active service, so you keep what you pay for. Plans start at $20 a month.
Wow, that's cool.
Sir, are you bothering the customers?
Yeah, hang on.
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
Available at major retailers. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat. That's why you can use an entire bottle to make buffalo chicken dip, the kind you might make for when you're watching the game at home. And maybe this year there's less people around to watch the game with. Yay! But that just means there's more dip, and it's all for you. Some of you may say, that's too much dip, but deep down in your heart of hearts, you know it isn't. So go ahead, finish it. Frank's Red Hot don't judge. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Breaking news, Florida. Any and all trades, regardless of their year, condition, even their category, are welcome at Trade-a-thon 2022 at Brandon Ford. That's right, even their category. Sure, we want trade-in cars and trucks, but we'll take it all. Motorcycles, boats, RVs, ski-doos, custom vehicles, and we'll give you a big bang for it. Doesn't matter what it is, we're taking everything from steamboats to billy goats, and you don't have to buy. We just want your trade. That's what Trade-a-thon is all about. But if you want to custom order your new Ford, Brandon Ford will save you more money than any Ford dealer in America. And you can get your custom order Ford on average in as little as 8 to 10 weeks. So if you're looking to get rid of something you haven't been able to sell or give away, come to Trade-a-thon 2022 here at Brandon Ford, the largest volume Ford truck dealer in America. Highway 60 and 301 in Tampa, and at BrandonFord.com. Bring it in. Brandon Ford will buy it, and you'll be very happy.
Sports, information, and entertainment.
This is AM 820 WWBA Largo and AM 1060 WIXC Titusville.
It's time for the King and the Cop with the legendary former MLB great Jim Leyritz, and with 100 years of law enforcement in his blood, Tommy Sedner.
It's all things sports, plus cop talk, current events, entertainment, and more.
Joined by America's favorite Jersey girl, Robin DeLory.
It's the King and the Cop.
Now, here's Tommy, Jimmy, and Robin.
Welcome to the King and the Cop, Tampa. It's been one hell of a day. You're listening to the Big Eight. Call us at 727-518-0820. I'm Tommy Sedner, the Cop.
And I'm the King, Jim Leyritz.
And Robin DeLory is on a little assignment today. We like to be, we always like to start off our show in a positive manner and be full of excitement. But our cities, again, are being terrorized. In a couple minutes, we're going to have retired Tampa Detective Chip DeBlock join us and talk about the cities. Do they all go on their high alert after this massive shooting again in New York City? Our major cities are being terrorized. There's a manhunt right now still for the subway shooting today. We'll get into that with Jimmy later, who travels on the subway daily. One of the disturbing alleged things that we're going to talk about is Uber and Lyft, if this is true, hiked the prices as people were running and fearing for their lives. I don't understand it. And the only thing we could say is NYPD is one of the finest in the country. They're looking for this coward, but he put the fear of God into these kids in our city again. How many kids, we'll talk about it, go to school and take these subways? It's just awful. And in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to have our good friend, his expertise, Donnie DeLuca, Miami Beach retired chief, former president of IACP. He's going to weigh in on how are we addressing this across our nation. And then we'll finally get to sports. And, sports, news, and entertainment, that's what we do here. The majority of it is sports. But today we're a little sad. But we will get into the Boo Birds are out in the Bronx, and they're already judging Mr. Aaron. And we're also going to talk about the hiccups. And I mean maybe Aaron Hicks. The Yankees past have had great center fielders. And as the music Paul Simon would sing, where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? The only thing in center field we have now are ghosts. The Mets, not so amazing last night. Were they false advertisement, or is it just too early in the season to tell? And I don't know if you listeners down in Clearwater saw your Phillies third baseman kind of got himself in a jam after 3 hours, said he hates this blank place, and he got caught up in a moment. Does he need some Philadelphia freedom, as Elton John would say, or did he just get caught up in it? And one of the last things we'll talk about today, did our GOAT, Tom Brady, really decide he was going to go swim with the fishes? Was he really going to make a move? But for now, Jimmy, You're a couple blocks away. We were in Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, net game. You travel to subways every day. Our prayers and thoughts are with everybody in New York City. It's no secret on this show. I have a daughter at Fordham. I get a chill up my spine every time I see something like this. It was Sacramento a couple weeks ago. And today, 26 people as of right now are injured. I believe it's 16 that were shot. Thankfully, right now, there's no reported deaths. I'm reading now that there was a U-Haul involved. What the hell was this animal, this coward, really intending to do? Was he just going to take out a whole subway with hundreds of people? I mean, tonight, I know you're going to the Ranger game. You getting on the subway?
You know, Tommy, yeah, I am. You know what? I've lived in the city long enough that these things do happen. It's sad. It's terrible. You know, and it's something that you don't want to see. I mean, literally, that train subway station is right on the line that goes right by my new apartment down here, down in the Bowery. And it's literally 3 stops away from my stop right here. I was going to go down there and go to the office today, and the whole place was shut down. So, yeah, it's a little bit disturbing. Yes, absolutely. And what makes it even more disturbing is that it was obviously premeditated.
Exactly.
This wasn't a guy getting mad at a girlfriend or somebody getting mad at a wife or somebody going off just because they were in a fight or something. This was premeditated and senseless. And
you know, he's wearing a vest, Jimmy, reportedly. He's wearing a vest, and if he's wearing a bulletproof vest, if that's what the vest that he's wearing, he knows he's going in there for a fight, and he's going to take out as many people as he can before they take him out.
And they found the gun.
Right.
They found all these M80s and all these fireworks. And this kid was planning on something big.
Yeah, sure was. And thank God, rumor has it, and, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they're saying that the gun jammed. And if that's the case, that's where you thank God, because the gun jammed and saved so many people. One of the early things and we're a little educated on the cop side here, and you are from living in the city and dealing with cops. One of the things early out I heard, and by the way, I think the new police commissioner in NYP is fabulous, well-spoken, she thinks everything out. But she had mentioned that this was not terrorism. And we're such in a hurry to say it's not terrorism. BS. It's terrorism. It's domestic terrorism. A person doesn't go and take out 20 people, 15 people. That's a man acting like a terrorist. It doesn't need to be a plane crashing in your building. And why I say that, and I think it'll be rescinded, because there's different charges. We get into this, state and local charges as opposed to federal charges. This animal committed a terrorist act on our citizens of New York City today, plain and simple. And, you know, and I'll let Chip weigh in on it, and I'll let Donnie DeLuca, former retired Miami Beach chief and IACP president. He's been all over the world. And one of the other things, Jimmy, and you notice, this disturbs me too. All the money we spend. Oh, and by the way, let's defund the police. By the way, there's certain things maybe should be defunded. The cameras weren't working. Are you kidding me? That no camera should ever be out. Somebody should do a check and balance every single damn day in the MTA or the Port Authority or any of where our transportation avenues are these cameras working? Now, I'm sure that somebody got this animal on some kind of footage.
Well,
but
according to the initial reports, yes, there is someone that actually has him on camera running from the station. So,
yeah, thank God for somebody that had the BALLS to stand there and take video of this animal as he's running away. But the truth of the matter, you go into London, and I remember the bombings over there, they had thousands of cameras that identified these guys as if it were you and I looking at each other right now on TV. So hopefully they will come. But one of the things that I hope Mayor Adams addresses, because he's put a heavy presence into these subways, which is bizarre, that there's more police down there than ever, and this coward went down there anyway. So it goes to show you, when somebody wants to do something that's premeditated, they're going to get it done. And today, in a sad day, he got it done.
Yeah, it's a situation that's, you know, and again, you know, for me being in a city, I will still be a little nervous taking the subway. At the same time, just a lot more aware of my surroundings when I am going to be taking the subway.
Yeah, you got to have your head on a swivel. But you know what, Jimmy? You say that, and I say that. But we're at the Yankee game the other night, and I come out of the Yankee game, and I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush here, but I had my daughter who's 19 years old and her 3 friends. And although they're going right back to Fordham University, she's like, Dad, the subway's only 1 stop, 2 stops. Babe, you're not going in the subway at 12 o'clock at night. You're getting in an Uber, and you're going in an Uber. And today, the first thing I wanted to do was just get sick to my stomach thinking of these. There's kids in grammar school, middle school, and high school, the younger kids with their parents every day, commute on these subways to school. There's 4 schools around this incident today that went into lockdown. And my point is, it's scaring the bejesus out of these kids. Yeah. I mean, the worst that happened in our day, Jimmy, was they made you hide under your desk for some reason and did a drill in case somebody came. You didn't understand what that even meant till you got older, and then you did a fire drill. These poor kids, since 9/11, have to be concerned at all times that this city could be under attack. And New York's the number 1 target. We all know that. It's the number 1 target. But, yeah, guys like us put our head on a swivel. Yeah, we'll go to the damn Ranger game tonight. We'll still go and do our job. But what about when those kids wake up tomorrow morning? You think they want to get on that subway and go to school?
Nope.
No way.
Nope.
No way. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it to the experts. When Chip comes on, I'm going to talk to him about it. I'm a former cop. My family's been in the law enforcement for 100 years, still is. I believe that money should be allocated to certain different parts of law enforcement. But where are our senators, Republican, Democrat, everybody? Tell me how you feel about defunding police again today, because our kids are in clear present danger, period. And they have a responsibility to make sure they do everything to protect them, if not us adults. So, that's my 2 cents. Thank God, as of right now, nobody's dead. I hope they catch this animal sooner than later. And I hope he is charged as a terrorist. When Chip calls in, we'll get back to it. But
Chip's on.
You were at the game. Go ahead. Matt, I thought Matt was saying something.
No, he is. Chip is on the line right now, actually.
All right. Chip, you there?
I am here.
Retired Detective Chip DeBlock, Tampa PD. Chip, you're on today with me and Jimmy Leyritz. And Jimmy's right in the city, takes the subways. One of the few players that back years ago would take the subways to the stations, through the stations, and to the ballparks. Chip, Tampa, Miami, Orlando, does everybody go on high alert right now as a result of what's going on in New York City?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. Jimmy was saying something that resonated with me just a second ago when he said that his head is on a swivel, and that is absolutely the case. I mean, we're always more aware of our surroundings, anyhow, due to the nature of our jobs, the law enforcement profession. But absolutely, when you hear about stuff like this going on, whether it's Sacramento involving gangs, or whether it's what happened on the subway in New York, it just gives you that pucker factor, and you have to be aware of your surroundings.
That's so true, and you as a cop that served Tampa, and it's about the copycats right now. Some jackasses at home contemplating doing something like this prior to this sees this, and then he says, "Okay, let me go light up Tampa, God forbid. Let me light up Denver, God forbid." We don't know what's behind closed doors right now, do we?
No, there's no. You're right. There's no way to tell. I mean, and look, some of this. Look, I think that we will all agree that some of this is preventable, and maybe even a lot of it, or most of it, but not all of it. You've got these crimes of passion and people that are motivated in a different way. There's places you can go, like New York City. They have very strict gun laws there. and ammunition laws. However, you can still bring it across the border in the town, and then even in Florida, we're not open carry here, but there's a lot of people that do concealed carry in Florida with permits. But look what happened at the Pulse nightclub, because legally you cannot have a concealed firearm unless you're a Leo. You cannot have a concealed firearm in an alcohol establishment, and that guy had free reign there just about at the Pulse nightclub in New York. You're right. It's a target-rich environment for these guys. They want to make a statement, get a lot of casualties. And you're right. Thank God, more people were not injured, and no one has died from that. And that the extended magazine study had, that firearm and Glocks don't jam easy, but thank God that Glock jammed and prevented him from doing more damage.
Chip, and I got to say this, and you and I know this better than anybody. You can put all the pieces together, and we've had presidents. We had a president assassinated. We had Ronald Reagan was shot. You could do everything in your power to protect, but if somebody really has in their mind that they're going to get to somebody and do something, yeah, you'll be able to stop them eventually, but they're going to take out a lot of people. Today, it was a blessing, the gun jam, school shootings, movie theater shootings, Sacramento last 2 weeks ago. The bottom line is these gun laws are great, and all the politicians get on their soapbox today. But at the end of the day, take the handcuffs off our cops. You got to let us do our job out there, and our cops got to do a better job and not make stupid mistakes. But man, this is the result. I just said to Jimmy before you came on, these kids, 4 schools within this area, right around the perimeter, were locked down today. Do you think they're going to wake up and say, Mommy, I want to go to school tomorrow on the subway? Because that's what they do in the big cities. They travel to school, not on buses, on subways. And how do we address that?
That is an excellent point. I mean, you don't want to live in an age where you have to be fearful of all the time. And you're right, parents, they've got to look out for these kids. But it's kind of sad that we're having to go through this today, because I don't know that there's an easy answer.
I agree, Jimmy. Chip, major city, Tampa. But you were a ball player. You live in the city. You live in a city now. You just reinvested into this city that's been troubled in the past couple of years as a result of COVID. And all right, let's not play politics, but nobody was a fan on the law enforcement side of Mayor de Blasio. He used to turn his back when he walked in the room because he really destroyed them. Mayor Adams is trying to do everything in his power right out of the box. He's not going to fix it in the first 90 days. But Jimmy, you're going to a game tonight. You feel safe going in the subways? You feel safe sitting in the Ranger game? Or do you think, is there a terrorist in here? Which you try to forget for a moment, and then it comes back.
Well, it's one of those things when something, again, being in New York, living here for 15 years, like I've lived here in the city, I've kind of gotten used to it. Back in the early 90s when I first came up, it was before Mayor Giuliani cleaned up the city, and it was really, really bad, and it was very scary. But again, I took the subway every single day, got used to it, always was aware of my surroundings. But I will take the subway tonight just because I know right now it's going to be safe.
Right.
It's going to be more protected now than it ever has been. Mayor Adams has already come out and said he's going to add 2 police people to every station.
Yep.
So it's going to be, but you get to that point where in the next 3 weeks or a month, and things start to change, we start to forget about it. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not aware of your surroundings, these things can happen again. And it is a little scary, but I look at it this way. If I'm driving a car on the street, I'm taking a chance too.
Yeah. You know what, Jimmy, though? Evil will wait. Evil will always wait for their moment in history, and they always do. Chip and Jimmy, how about this, though? I'm walking out of the game at Yankee Stadium the other night. I love going to the Bronx. I love it. I'm going to say it. This guy, Chip, Jimmy, hit one of the greatest home runs in Yankee Stadium, then hit another one on the road. There's nothing like 55,000 people. The building shakes. But then you come out, and I come out with my daughter, who's 19 years old, and her 3 friends, and she says, Dad, how come all these cops are standing here with machine guns? Well, I know when I go see the Rays, I don't come out and there's machine guns there. You know what I mean? And I say, babe, It has to be this way right now. It's about presence. It's about showing. But then today, really, if I let her get in that subway, for the grace of God, it could have been the other night like it was today, and some animals down there shooting up the subway. So I don't know what the message is, but when you walk out of a baseball game and there's 5 guys there suited up for war with machine guns, kind of makes you think twice if you're not a cop. Wouldn't you say, Chip?
No doubt, no doubt. And what you said resonates. And I don't know if you guys have been talking about the explosive devices, and I'm sure that's what gave the pucker factor to NYPD and the troops to carry the big guns. But you don't know what's coming down the pipe, and some of these. Some of these things that happen, these shootings or bombs that are planted, it's just the first stage of what might be coming down the pipe. So I applaud them for being ready. But, some people just aren't used to seeing that in this country. And, you're doing it for their protection.
Chip, Jimmy says, I feel I'm going to be safe tonight. And he's right. Usually after an event, right, you just, everybody's on call. You know that. You can't even go home if you wanted to. But my dad was the first, God rest his soul, he was the first bomb technician in the city of Newark, New Jersey. And a lot of these things, and this gentleman, we don't know. He's not a gentleman. He's a punk. He's a coward. He's an animal. He's a terrorist, bottom line, equals terrorist. The bottom line is a lot of these things are created a diversion. So until they search everywhere else, we don't know that he didn't plant stuff, especially when I'm hearing there was a U-Haul truck, set off probably a stun grenade, that was smoke, or a cherry bomb, and then opened up fire. We're not sure what else he did prior to this. And that's the fear that I think NYPD is facing tonight as they address this.
Oh, you're right. I tell you what, God bless your dad that did that bomb stuff, because I want nothing to do with bombs. I'll tell you, that is not my gift or my comfort level.
Well, we're going to have to go to break, but I'll leave it with this. First of all, thank you. Stay safe. I'll see you in Tampa in a couple of days. But the funny part was when I came on the job, they said to me, we're going to send you to Huntsville, Alabama to bomb school like your dad. And I said, my dad's got bigger you-know-whats than anybody I know, and I can't even put a light bulb in. So no thank you. Put me on a SWAT team, but thank you. Chip, as always, great guest. Love your expertise. Be talking to you soon. Stay safe, my brother.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Jimmy.
When we come back on a break, let's get to some positive baseball news. Maybe in New York, it's not so positive. You're listening to Big 8, Jimmy Lariats, Tommy Center, Robin Delory on assignment today. Welcome back to the King and the Cop. You're listening to the Big Eight. Call us at 727-518-0820. I'm with Jimmy Leyritz. I'm Tommy Setner, and Robin Delory's on assignment today. Probably calling in later. We all know where she is. She's working high school baseball today. But Jimmy, speaking of baseball, you called it, and we're obviously not rooting against him, but Aaron Judge put himself in an awkward position, right or wrong. But New York City fans, especially on a day of tragedy today, which is not fair. It's not fair to say that even. I shouldn't have said that. But this is how the world we live in. You turn down a $213 million contract and you don't get off to a fast start. You go from hero to zero in New York real quick. They're booing him. How'd it feel last night at the game?
Yeah, it's one of those situations. You take 2 out of 3 from Boston, and the next team that comes in is the team that everybody feels is going to win the division. And, the bats go silent. And for me, it's a scary situation because you're facing pretty, a little bit better pitching. This kid that pitched last night was a rookie last year, was 9-3, had a pretty good season.
Yep.
And, Jameson Taillon did a great job on the Yankees' part.
Yeah, he pitched great.
Yep. He made one bad pitch, and that was it to George Springer for the home run, the 2-run homer. But overall, he pitched really, really good. But the bats scared living daylights out of everybody because, once again, Aaron Hicks looked like he was lost. Judge, was swinging and missing a lot. Stanton, same thing.
Yep.
It was a very tough game to watch. And especially, Tommy, this is the part of the game that I just can't, thank God I'm not on the Yes Network doing the games, because I would have made a comment of, we're in the 9th inning, we're down by 3 runs, and our guys are swinging at the first pitch.
I saw it. I couldn't believe it.
And I'm like, what do we teach our little leaguers?
Is that our cybermetrics too, saying swing at the first pitch when we're down 3 runs?
You know what? It must be. It must be that.
Give me a break.
Somewhere in the sabermetric world that it doesn't matter taking a pitch late in the innings, which is a bunch of BS. I can't tell you how many games have been turned around by waiting, taking a strike in the 9th inning because that pitcher, can't throw one.
Right.
It was tough to watch. And
I ask you this next question, not as 2 brothers talking, but your expertise as a former baseball great and player. There's an old saying that you got to be strong up the middle. And I posted something earlier. Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Bernie Williams, Bobby Mercer? Yankees always were recognized for having great center fielders. I made a joke saying the Yankees have the hiccups. This Aaron Hicks, he doesn't do it for me, but our catcher looks like he's overmatched every time he's at the plate swinging. I guess he's good defensively. Our shortstop's good defensively. I'm saying our shortstop as if I'm on a team is a good defensive player, but he can't swing himself out of a paper box. And Torres, I don't know that I'm in love with Torres, whether you move him from short to second. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the player that he was a couple years ago. What's your expertise thought on that? We're weak up the middle.
Well, I just go back to, again, how sabermetrics has screwed up this entire game. I mean, we're in the 8th inning. I think it was the 8th inning. And man on first and second, and Higashioka or whatever his name is.
Right.
He's up the bat. He hit 187 last year. He's hitting, he's 1 for 11 this year, and not even an attempt to bunt.
I know.
You're down by 2 runs at that time. Not even an attempt to bunt to get the guy in, or to get two guys in scoring position to tie up the game. I don't get it. And again, I know that is sabermetrics saying you shouldn't give up an out just to move the runners over because it's statistically not, it doesn't work, but it does work. And it puts more pressure on that pitcher, to face the next guy. And they didn't do that. And then of course, you mentioned it, up the middle is where your strength is. And right now, we don't have that. I mean, I do like the kid from Minnesota, who I cannot pronounce his name because it's 2 different names. But I do like him a little bit.
Yep.
Because we all know he's a stopgap.
That's right. They're just waiting for Volpe to mature.
Right, exactly. They're going to wait for Volpe for next year. And then you mentioned Gleyber Torres. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I did not see Gleyber Torres his first year swing and miss as many times as I've seen him swing in the last 2 years.
Is he trying to prove something, do too much? And in that lineup, you shouldn't have to. You should just do your job.
Well, exactly. And I think that's it. Maybe he's trying to be a home run hitter with Stanton and Judge, which he's not. And again, Tommy, you're going to hear me say this all year because I've said it now the first 5 games or 4 games. All right. Gleyber Torres is not a 50 to 60 home run hitter.
Right.
He comes up every at bat since the beginning of the year, and the entire right side of the infield is wide open.
Amazing.
I can get it. If you want to say, oh, Joey Gallo, he should hit the ball. Joey Gallo has a better chance of hitting a home run than Gleyber Torres.
Right.
Gleyber Torres should be hitting for average. And if you got a whole side of the infield open, and they're pitching him away.
Yeah, it's just I'm flabbergasted. And yesterday I called Gallo Joey Votto. I called him Votto. I guess it was wishful thinking. I mean, but I again every time he gets up, I'm like, I have not that I'm anybody. I'm talking as a fan right now. It's like hard to watch him.
But listen to this. Okay, you and I have the watch factor because we're watching the games.
Right.
Sabermetrics will tell you that Joey Gallo's been on base 42% of the time so far this year. And they think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going, no, it's not. I don't care what that number says. The bottom line is the guy in big pressure situations. The other night against Boston, they bring the closer in. I got Stanton, Judge, and Gallo coming up in the 9th inning.
Right.
On my run. Guess what? 3 punch outs.
Exactly right.
I mean, that's the part that scares me because I really like this team on paper. I like the potential that they have. But so far, the eye test, and again, I'm a former player. The first month of the season, most of the good players struggle. That's why I played a lot in April because I hit 420 every April.
Right.
And I liked playing in the colder weather. I liked, getting the opportunity to play more because guys were struggling. Some guys aren't that way. Some guys are slow starters. And with a 4 or 5 week spring training, some guys are behind the 8 ball. So,
but we thought hitting would outmatch for the first time as a result of short season in the spring training, that for the first, usually the pitchers are ahead of everybody, but the pitchers only had 3 weeks to get ready. This kid came out late. Well, both pitchers last night did a hell of a job. But the other thing is, oh God, I'm just saying it like it is. I feel like some of the players are like prima donnas. It's too cold. I mean, they got ski mask on. Go up there. You're out there for 5 minutes, for goodness sake.
What about Garrett Cole complaining that it took an extra 10 seconds?
Wait, we got to talk about that. Was that
screwed up his schedule?
Was that classic? He went berserk.
Yeah.
Jimmy, we had an incident like that in the minor leagues in the Atlantic League. Tommy John managed Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we did an opening ceremony, and we had I'll think of the name later, but it was a famous singer, and he came out. And Tommy John didn't like it because it took too long. Get a hold of yourself, my man. Get a hold of yourself. And Garrett Cole, you got enough problems with the way you're conducting yourself right now after, saying you can't spin the ball as much and you did use the special sauce and you don't anymore. You shouldn't be seen shaking Aaron Boone, screaming like, what the hell are they doing? It was opening day. By the way, I also have a problem with the Yankees. I hate this bone to pick with the Yankees. Can we have one tradition that the Yankees are the best at? When it's opening day, or it's the World Series, or the playoffs, can we bring back a 1996 World Series hero maybe and let him throw out the first pitch? Can we have it? Our famous Yankees? Do I really want to see Yankee fan Billy Crystal out there on opening day? Garrett Cole should have been yelling about that, not about it was messing up his time. But good for Billy Crystal. But come on, Yankees. We used to go DiMaggio and Mantle and Maris and Berra and Rizzuto and all the greats, Jimmy, that you used to talk about. And then it's the 90s dynasty, Leyritz, Tino, Paul O'Neill, Jeter, Andy Pettit, Posada. And they had to do that. So I was a little taken back that good old Billy Crystal was throwing out the first pitch. So I don't know. Pet peeve stuff. How about the Mets, my friend? Are they not amazing Mets? Not so amazing? Looked like the old Mets last night, 4-0 eighth inning. You felt it if you were watching the game a little bit. I know you were at the stadium. I was flicking back and forth. My stepsons were here in the house, and they were back on their heels feeling, here we go again. And the Mets blew a 4-run lead and lost the game 5-4. Did you see any reruns or MLB on that?
You know, I did not have a chance because, like you said, I was at the game last night. And we're sitting there, you know, I was commenting, oh, the Mets are going to win again. And then it went 5-4 within a drop of a hat. I was like, wait a minute. You know, and
bloop and a blast, as they say. And it was, you know, you could see once it went 4-3, you knew they were dead on arrival, that they were coming, and it was going to be Phillies were going to. And that's the danger right there, that the Mets bullpen may continue to fail them. You know, they're going to have to ask a lot out of their starters with DeGrom down. And it got exposed last night. That's the bottom line. The funny part of that Philadelphia game, the third baseman, Alec Boehm, I don't know if you saw this in the highlights.
I heard about it.
He's fighting for the third base position. My man makes 3 errors, and he throws out there on camera, which God knows you can't do anything anymore. Not anything or say anything without them picking it up. And he says, I hate this effing place. And the media took that. And, you know, we talked yesterday, the Philadelphia fans crushed at an Eagle game Santa Claus with a bunch of snowballs. So if you make 3 errors as the third baseman of the Phillies, you could rest assured you're going to get booed. And he did, and he didn't like it, and he made a comment. And after it was all over, he took it back. And Joe Girardi, being the class act that he is, protected his player and said, oh, he didn't mean that. He meant he hated where he was at that moment in time. But talk about pressure, man. You remember as a young guy, and you get your shot, and you're out there, and then you make 1 error, and then you make 2 errors, and as the story goes, the ball will find you, right?
Yep. I mean, that's it. And you know, that's part of playing in New York or Philadelphia or wherever, you know. And like I think Girardi said, he was making a general statement that I hate. If I make 3 errors in one place, I hate it too.
Right. I don't want to be there either. I don't think he was talking about the field. I don't think he was talking about his team. Being in a big, yeah, for sure. So you're listening to Big 8, Jimmy Leyritz, Tommy Setner. Give us a call, 727-518-0820 on the Big 8, Sports Talk Florida. We're going to go to break. When we come back, hey, Jimmy, as they say in New Jersey, Tom Brady might have been sleeping with the fishes. We'll talk about it when we get back on the Big 8.
back to the show. The King and the Cop continues.
What are they talking
Welcome back
about?
to the King and the Cop, Tommy Setner and Jimmy Leyritz. You know, Jimmy, we talk a lot of Jersey and New York stuff because we have a lot of people that have relocated to Clearwater, St. Pete, and Tampa and love it, retired or not. Sometimes we skip over the Rays or some of the Lightning, but two-time champion Lightning are hot. You're going to the Ranger game tonight. You know, we have the Rays are 3-1. They're in first place. And, of course, we got the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. That funny story is surfacing that Brady was looking to be minority owner of the Dolphins, possibly play quarterback, and bring his buddy Sean Payton from the Saints over to coach, and it all fell apart. And to make a long story short, I think that's pretty interesting because I think him and Giselle brought a big, beautiful home down in Miami there. So could be some where there's smoke, there's fire. How do you think, how would that taste if he went and played for the Dolphins after winning the Super Bowl here and, leaving the Bucs? Obviously he's back, but as this surfaces, do you think people are going to hold a grudge?
I don't think so. I mean, Tom Brady came to Tampa as a favor to Tampa to win a championship. And he did. And he did that his first year. You can't really – I remember when Wayne Huizenga bought the Marlins and said, I'm buying this team in 97. We're going to win, and then I'm going to sell it. He was honest.
Yeah, you're right.
He was honest.
And he did, and he sold every damn player after that, after he won the World Series, you know.
Exactly. So I think the Brady situation is interesting, yes, because he did buy a home in Miami. That's coincidence, possibly. But I do think that there is some guts to it, that Tom Brady will take a position somewhere in football like Derek Jeter did with the Marlins.
Yep.
It's only natural. The guy has that much charisma and clout and can help build an organization just by his name alone. And like you said, they did buy a place in Miami.
Yep.
Stephen Ross is down there. He loves to get the big names. It could be something that's on the horizon, and we'll never know because Brian Flores filed a lawsuit, and they're saying in rumors again with that saying he did that so this deal wouldn't happen, and it could hurt. This way, he could still hurt the Dolphins for firing him. We'll never know that. We'll probably never know the full truth on that. But the bottom line is, it didn't happen. He's in Tampa, and hopefully he's going to help them bring another championship there. And then if he wants to go to the front office and be a Derek Jeter type of leader on the football side, God bless him, and it could be Miami.
Well, I'm, my brother has been a Dolphin fan his whole life, and you want something good to finally happen down there. It's been a long time since they hung their hat on the old Super Bowl trophy, but I'm selfishly glad that Brady's staying in Tampa with us. I think he's got. We'll see it's like the sign on for the win. With him, like the NBA now. Let's see who comes on board with him. Did you happen to see last night's? They had a major story about the Hunter Biden thing. Did you see? I mean, we'll talk a little news here and one other sad thing that just came across the wire. But do you think this is ever going to end, or is it going to be like the Trump thing? They just chase until they get what they want, or finally somebody changes office.
Well, I would say if there was a lot of teeth to this, that Trump would have been all over it already.
Right.
And maybe he is. Maybe he's setting it up for the big 2024 run. And going to spring it when he feels like it's the best opportunity. But I would find it hard to believe all of the information that's out there. And again, who knows what to believe at the media? Like you said yesterday, Fauci now is telling you not to wear a mask. I mean,
right.
You play all the last 2 years, you play every excerpt that he had. It was all about you have to have a mask, and sometimes let's double the mask. It's crazy the stuff that's out there, and what can you truly believe? But I'm telling you right now, I've been in the system. You've been in the system. We know how it works. We know how things get buried. We know how the truth sometimes never comes out. It's hard to believe that somebody in the system, somebody in politics, especially on the right side, hasn't tried to go after this a lot more aggressively and really push this thing. And hopefully that's what they're going to do. Now that maybe they do have all this evidence and all this proof, maybe it's time to start to treat Mr. Biden the way we treated Mr. Trump the 4 years he was in office.
Yeah, it doesn't seem the same, right? There's no fair and balance there. I mean, it's just you can't turn on a channel and get the truth. What you get now is opinions. Jimmy, did you see great comedian? I wasn't a fan, but God rest his soul, Gilbert Gottfried passed away today after a long illness.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was kind of, it was expected because he's been in bad health for quite a while. I remember it wasn't even probably 2 months ago that I saw him on some comedy thing, and when he came out, the comedian that was hosting it said, "Oh, you look like you're deaf,"
Yeah.
Not knowing he truly was this close to death, and it's an unfortunate thing. He made a living out of being annoying, and anytime we lose somebody that was that big in that industry, it's a sad day, and we wish, again, prayers and condolences to his family and those that were close to him.
It's a fine line these days. Used to be Don Rickles. Remember Don Rickles?
Yeah.
Could say anything he wants about any race. It didn't matter, any religion. He used to attack everybody. So people get turned off, and we learned through the Will Smith thing that this whoever it was, comedian says, "You look like hell. You look like you're dying." This poor guy was dying. You look like G.I. Jane, and meantime she's losing her hair from a disease. Again, I guess things sometimes aren't so funny, and
the thing about it is we have to realize that it's what it's called. It's called comedy.
That's right.
And it's supposed to be an insult. It's supposed to be, kidding. What they say, kidding on a square. You're kidding, but yeah, it hurts a little bit because it's real too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation we're in. And again, you just mentioned Don Rickles. I was scrolling through TikTok the other night, and I was watching a bunch of stuff on Don Rickles. And it was one episode that he was on David Letterman with Denzel Washington.
Right.
TC, the things that he was saying to Denzel and even David Letterman, there is no way you could say those today.
And you could argue that you never should have said them, of course, but I don't know. Maybe they had an arrangement before they went out there. But this guy, he went after presidents. He went after everybody. It didn't matter. I remember watching him picking on the first lady, and he was friends with Nancy and Ronald Reagan, but he was just calling her out in front of 30,000 people, and just and people laughed. Today, I guess it's not so funny. It's the world we live in. Maybe things have changed. Everybody's a little more uptight. I can understand people being sensitive when it comes to somebody making fun of somebody's race, because there's such history, whether it be the wars we went through or the racism we went through, but another subject, maybe another channel. I know you and I don't feel that way, but it's different.
Listen,
but
he made more fun of himself.
That's true.
You
and his wife.
Exactly.
And his wife.
And I think that's why more people were acceptable, because he included himself in every single joke that he would tell.
He sure did. You're listening to the Big 8 Radio. Jimmy Lariat, Tommy Setner, 727-518-0820. We're touching a couple things today. Terrorism in New York. Few baseball moments, and we're talking about the late Gilbert Gottfried, who passed away today. But I just was wondering, Jimmy, if what do you think about the NBA playoffs? You think there's a clear-cut favorite?
There really isn't, because the big X factor is that Kyrie Irving will be playing every game with the Brooklyn Nets.
Right.
And they didn't have that all year. And and the record kind of showed it at home. But that'll be an interesting factor. And again, I think they're number 8 seed, so they have it probably a little easier schedule because they're not playing the top teams. But I think between them and Philadelphia out of the East, and I don't think you don't hear about the Phoenix Suns. It's kind of like the Angels.
I know why.
Dodgers. You don't hear much about the Phoenix Suns because they're on that coast in that time zone. And even the Golden State Warriors you hear about just because of Steph Curry. Those two teams are, I think, one of those two teams have come out of the West. And I think you might actually see a winner being crowned out of the East this year. And it might even be the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of under the radar, but they're great. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I say I don't know because maybe I'm not that interested. I feel like there's no fanfare going on with it right now. Maybe it picks up, but I think what turns me off, and you and I have talked about it, is buying the championship, and these guys all getting together in the offseason and say, come play with me, and then all of a sudden they get there and they don't have the chemistry. Next thing you know, you're getting traded in the middle of the season. You get traded, their feelings get hurt. Who doesn't even want to come off the bench anymore? It's going to be interesting. But the Phoenix Suns have been pretty consistent, so I could see them too giving everybody a run for their money.
And I love that story. I love the Phoenix Suns because Booker is one of the top players in the game. But I love it for the sake of 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, everyone said Chris Paul was done, that he was done, that, it was time for him to shut it down and go, And again, it was an injury-prone year that he was having that year. But look at this guy. He has come back. He's helped lead this team with Booker and them. And I really enjoy watching them. I watch them a lot because I'm on the West Coast.
Right.
And I really enjoyed watching them play. I, again, like the Golden State Warriors too, because I think Draymond Green is one of the best all-around players in the game, and he knows how to get on somebody's nerves. But I think it's going to be I don't watch the NBA much during the season, but I love the playoffs. And I love the fact that the Lakers are not in the playoffs. And, LeBron couldn't buy his team.
You're 100% right. We're going to go to break in about a minute here. You're listening to Big 8 Radio today, Sports Talk Florida, 727-518-0820. Tommy Setner and Jimmy Leyritz. Robin's out on assignment. Jimmy, when we come back, we're going to update our drive time 5 o'clock fans of what's going on in New York City. And we'll have retired Miami Beach chief from Florida, Don DeLuca, on. But I'm going to ask you a question. Number 21, that's getting his number retired, is calling the games, Mr. O'Neill, from his basement still because he's unvaccinated and he can't join his partners in the booth at Yes. So, again, Dr. Fauci, stand up. You're confusing us all. You're listening to the Big 8 Radio. Tommy Setner, Jimmy Leyritz. Call us, 727-518-0820. We'll be back in the 5 o'clock drive time hour.
The King and the Cop. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to the King and the Cop. Tommy Sentner and Jimmy Leyritz. It's 5 o'clock and we're live. Drive time. A lot of things we covered in our first hour. Awful day here back in New York City. Terrible mass shooting. Still looking for updates on that. Thank God right now, I don't believe I've heard that anybody has passed away, but it's changed New York City again. And our kids are living in fear. We'll get to that in this hour with retired Miami Beach Chief Don DeLuca. Before we get to that, Jimmy, we were joking in the first hour. The Boo Birds are out at Yankee Stadium. They're already judging Aaron Judge. And, we knew we had to get off to a quick start. And the Yankees are never out of the news, whether you're current or past like yourself. Mr. Paul O'Neill is getting a little heat because he's not vaccinated. So he can't do the play-by-play at Yankee Stadium, and he's still doing it as they joke around in O'Neill Studios out in Cincinnati. And then I'm going to ask you another question about Cincinnati, but it begs that question again. You mentioned Kyrie Irving for the Nets, and he decided not to do it, and now he's allowed to play. Should Paul O'Neill, for his own colleagues in the booth, be vaccinated and get back to work? What's your thoughts on that?
I've been listening to the games, and I don't really see much difference from Paul being, in New York or being in his basement. I mean, when you're a color guy, you can pretty much do it from anywhere. The guy that's the most important one is Michael Kay,
right?
To be able to lead these guys in certain questions or certain things. So I think, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, my computer went a little blank there.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it's a situation that I think Paul likes being at home.
Yeah.
And
if I didn't just read that and I didn't just say that to you, I wouldn't know that he wasn't there if I didn't watch the pregame, which I didn't. So, that being said, Cincinnati guy, people are frustrated with the Reds and they're calling for the Reds to be sold.
Yeah, and Phil Castellini came out and made a comment that I was completely shocked. The way he kind of like talked down to the fans, like saying, "Hey, you don't like it? What else are you going to do?
Exactly. Where are you going to go?" He said, "Where are you going to go?"
Where are you going to go? Yeah.
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm sorry, but I am a Cincinnati Reds fan also, and to see what they have, that team was so close to seem turning things around, and then just the moves that they made, it was frustrating for me, and I'm not like a diehard. I can't imagine, like my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, they're all huge fans. They were frustrated and are frustrated.
Right.
And you would think that the ownership would come out and say, "Hey, we have a plan. Stay with us."
Yeah. Instead, they insulted him.
Exactly. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Our next guest, and he's a guest, he's not a caller, is retired police chief from Miami Beach, Don DeLuca. He was the president of IACP, International Chiefs of Police. Donnie's been all over the world. And when horrible things happen, he's a friend of Jimmy and I, and he's a big Yankee fan. And I think he's calling me from Boston, which I don't want you to disclose because we can't stand Boston. I say that being funny. But Donnie, are you with us?
I'm here, brother. Hey, only here for 24 hours. I won't stay long, I promise.
Yeah, don't wear your Mickey Mantle shirt around there. Donnie, on a serious note, again, one of our cities, a city that you love, a city that you and I have done business in. They slaughtered 16 people again today. Crazy coward gunman goes in there, and thank God his gun jammed after a little bit. But my question to you is, we had retired Detective Chip DeBlock on earlier, and I know all the cities go on high alert when this happens. But when you were president of International Chiefs of Police, you went all over the world, and you were meeting with world leaders. Our president of the United States, I remember you being with our president. Is the conversation as a group ever considered as to what you and your chiefs think of how we should address? And I know we can't stop everything, but what do we do? Because our kids are scared to death now to go to school again.
Tom, you ask a great question. I say it all the time. When I was president, violence against the police was on the rise. But, we kind of expect, police are trained to deal with this. But what you saw today is, like you said, punches at the gut of America. We have to do more than just ask the police to solve these problems. I believe that these actions don't happen in 5 minutes, that there's behaviors that people see, like this shooter today that happened over the past few weeks. Behaviors change. He purchases a gun, whatever it may be. The old say something. And, notification apps where you can put things out there anonymously to the police. Take a picture of somebody, shoot it to the police. This guy's acting strangely. Citizens must get involved. It doesn't
Donnie,
happen in 5 minutes. Yeah.
You're so right, and you know this from being on the job. We had what we called confidential informants, and we had confidential willings. And confidential willings were the people sometimes that wanted to do the right thing, other times people that got in trouble and they wanted to give somebody else up. But the bottom line, we're only as good as our information. And with the technology we have today, we have to do a better job at taking complaints or people's, I know you got to be politically correct, but some people are just evil people, and there's signs. You're right. And is the International Chiefs of Police, will they put that on the table and start addressing those things? And it's not to criticize people or degrade people. We need to talk about it, don't we?
Yeah, you can't sit on the sideline. Listen, from the Boston bombings, these events happen. There's behaviors that lead up to it. And when there's 300 million Americans here, somebody has to see something out of the norm and has to report it. You just can't turn a blind eye anymore, because these things, it's almost like we tolerate, it was only 26 people injured today. 10 people were shot. It's unacceptable. When Newtown happened, the kids shooting with all those children there, you thought the world would have stopped. It hasn't stopped. It's only more, it's busier, it's crazier. And we need Americans to stand up and, kind of report anything they see to help the police.
Everybody, in a sense, Donnie, in a perfect world, needs to take. It's like we would fight. We would all drop a hat and go fight for our country right away. Well, country, we're in a little bit of trouble right now. So I guess we got to ask every citizen: put your head on a swivel. Let's pay attention. We don't want you to go out there and make a citizen's arrest. But I think we got to buckle down. We got a war within a war in our cities right now. And this is the norm, and it's just unacceptable. I know you came on a couple weeks ago during spring break, and we talked about, this is the norm, spring break. No, it's not. Damn it, no, it's not. And this is not the normal in subways. And it's just I'm hoping, and I don't know who it's going to be, because I know you're a hell of a leader. But I always say this: get the guys that are retired and not the guys that are active, because the retired guys could speak more freely, and maybe they're not always right, but they can educate you or put a piece of the puzzle that's missing. Do they ever think about doing anything like that at a federal level?
I think there should be think tanks, Tommy, but you got to have the cops involved. The retired cops are a great idea. Think about the world. We have grandkids. Situational awareness. Imagine dropping your kids off at school tomorrow. You're not going to feel comfortable again. It's a big step back. So I think there's experts out there just waiting to be asked to help, to pitch in, to train, citizen academies, educate as many people as you can. You just can't turn the paper tomorrow and act like nothing happened in our greatest city, New York City.
Yeah, no, I know. Jimmy's going to the Ranger game tonight, right, Jimmy? You were saying before you're going to take the subway. I'll let you tell Donnie, but what's your gut feeling, Jimmy, when you're going to be leaving in an hour and go, and then you're going to walk outside, and in the background I hear sirens. I mean, what's your thought, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I know, being in New York, being here for 10 years, 15 years almost total. I know when the city is dangerous and when it's not. And right now we're in a tough time. And you have to, the thing that you have to understand is you do have to have your head on a swivel, like I talked about, and you have to be aware of your surroundings. You can't just go blind into this and not, you need to expect the worst when you're taking these public transportation right now, and try to avoid, if you see something that looks a little shady or something that you don't feel comfortable, you try to avoid it.
Yep. You're listening to the Big 8 Radio. We have our guest, our brother retired Chief Don DeLuca from Miami Beach on. He was the former president of International Chiefs of Police. Donnie, before I let you go, full disclosure, you and I do stuff in the private sector, did a lot in the private sector. One of the things that got under my skin today, two things got under my skin. Allegedly, Uber and Lyft boosted their price when chaos started. So people were calling to escape New York because we're so scarred by 9/11. And if that's true, I mean, who addresses that? Like, what agency goes after Uber and Lyft and say, are you kidding me? You double your prices, you triple your prices when people are running in fear. Did you hear that? It was reported on the news, not to say that it can be fake news, but what are your thoughts about that? People gouge people in times like this.
Yeah, price gouging is against the law. The governor of New York could step in tomorrow and look into it instead of investigation going. Just like Florida with hurricanes, they put it out up front. Price gouging, we're going to come after you. I hope they do come after them for taking advantage.
Yeah. Donnie, one last thing before I let you go, because I know you're busy. You've been all over the world. And I believe, I know you're called to London, you're called to Germany, you're called to all these different places to share your expertise. And in our foreign countries, as in the aforementioned, their cameras in their subway systems, am I correct in saying they're impeccable, are they not?
Cameras everywhere. You know, you go to Asia, everything's tracked from the moment you hit an airport, and come off a plane, license plate readers, it's today's world. You should feel protected. You should feel like somebody's watching you. At least good citizens want that, right?
Yep. And you know what, Donnie? But here's the report right now. The cameras were broken. They have a couple working. How the hell in New York City, the wealthiest city probably in our country, are the cameras not working? Where's the check and balance with that? MTA? Is it the officers? Is it just downright sergeant going and turning a key box like we did in the old days and saying, I checked it, the camera's working? Don't you think that's another subject? I mean, it's about, you talk about broken window theory, but that's kind of a broken window theory. If your equipment's not working, I think we need to address that.
I absolutely agree. It would have been used for after the fact, kind of information, because it happened, which direction they go, and not to have cameras and not be able to download that information is, definitely hamstringed, I'm sure, the investigation at first. But you got to give Mayor Adams credit. It'll be double the amount of officers in the subway to get people back there feeling safe. Sometimes it's, the optics of things, but, New York's got to go on, and so does America, right?
Yep. Well, Mayor Adams was a cop's cop. People give him time. You can't fix things overnight. The city was destroyed for 8 years. My opinion, not the opinion of Jimmy or you. My opinion. But
I don't like that mayor either. Come on.
All right, but I think Mayor Adams is going to do the right thing, and he has done the right thing in the first 90 days. Stuff like this, Donnie, you and I learned. If somebody wants to do something and somebody's going to premeditate and go crazy, there's not much we can do but control it, solve it. But we got to learn from it. But you made a great point. We didn't learn when we lost those poor kids in Connecticut. So I don't know. We got to keep putting all our brains together. I miss you, man. I'll see you soon. Safe travels. Get the hell out of Boston. It's no good. It's a beautiful city, but that Red Sox team is no good.
Jimmy, great hearing your voice.
Yes, good to talk to you, Don.
Thanks, Donnie. Don DeLuca. I don't know many. We traveled, me and him, for 4 years together, working a job. How many times we talked about? He's a world traveler. He was an expert all over the world. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like in law enforcement, we're on a treadmill. We're just doing the same things. And by the way, in fairness to law enforcement, we lost a major support of our politicians. For a minute, we lost major support from our citizens. But man, I can tell you what, I didn't have to be there today to tell you there was 100 cops running right into that subway to save lives and take a bullet for somebody. So we'll get back to sports now. Thank you, Donnie DeLuca, retired Miami Beach chief. Jimmy, one of the things that I can mix around a little bit is, and I know you do it, and this is not blow smoke up your butt minute, but it's important for sports when tragedies happen too, that not that the show must go on or the game must go on, but I know you guys went down to 9/11. You were a big part of it. Are the players of today of course they're affected. They're going to go out on the field tonight at Yankee Stadium and be thinking about what happened. They're human beings and they're neighbors. But do we do enough now? Today's athlete do enough for our community?
That's a good question. I do know that the guys that are making, the amount of money that's being made in the game of baseball today, there are a lot more guys doing charities and foundations and supporting other charities and foundations because they have the extra money. But I will tell you this, they're scared. They had it all over the news of all the Brooklyn Nets guys because all this taking place was right outside their practice facility.
Right.
And Kevin Durant and they're all said the same thing. Yes, this is a little bit unnerving.
Yeah.
And they can't imagine, because we mentioned all the high schools the schools that are around there, all these poor kids that have to take that transportation to get to and from school. I think the athletes I think most of them are in tune with what's going on in their city. And I look at Aaron Judge. I look at some of the Yankees, obviously because of Mr. Steinbrenner, still are so involved in charities and foundations, and Devin Nicolosi and that foundation and everything that they do to help others, to help veterans. They do a very good job there. But it's not, there's not as many players living in the city that are involved in it as like we were back in the day.
Yeah. We're going to go to break. And before we go to break, Jimmy and I both, we come from similar backgrounds, and it's a day where everybody should think about a cop for a minute, or a first responder. More important, think about these victims today. But we're not all so bad. The blue line's not so bad. They will still run first into the line of fire to save you. So Godspeed to everybody, and I hope we catch this creep. Jimmy, when we come back on the Big Eight, I want to talk about a little more baseball. These catchers with their computers on their shin guards.
Oh, my God, yes.
Oh, my God. I just don't know. But anyway, you listen to the Big Eight. Call us 727-518-0820. Donnie DeLuca, Chief Donnie DeLuca, thank you for your insight. Chip the Block, thank you for your insight. We're going to try to, unless we have breaking news, we're going to talk sports the rest of the day. And maybe a little Robin Delory update. Give us a call on the Big Eight.
Cobb continues with Tommy, Jimmy, and Robin.
You're listening to Tommy Center, Jimmy Leyritz live. We're talking to our Tampa listeners in St. Pete and Clearwater, Orlando. But we got New York, New Jersey, California, from YouTube to FaceTime live, Facebook, I should say. If you want to FaceTime us, that's fine too. But Jimmy, I can't believe what I'm watching. Last night I'm watching a game, and I see it's bad enough I got to watch my grandchildren and my kids never put their cell phone down. Now major league catchers are typing on a little computer on a shin guard, and I guess the message gets sent to the pitcher and gets sent to the shortstop, second baseman, and center fielder. Am I correct, or I'm ignorant to what's really going on? I'm bits and pieces here.
Yeah, I don't know about the shortstop and second baseman, but it is it happened last night, and I love when technology screws up because I hate it, especially in this situation. The pitcher from Toronto, I can't remember which one, it was one of the relievers that came in. He could not hear what was going in his ear.
Right. It
delayed the game for about 4 minutes, because the catcher had to walk out and tell him what he was trying to tell him. And I'm like, see, this is why you don't have the technology. This is.
Come on, man. Like, we were kidding around the other day, but you called a game, Jimmy Leyritz, as a catcher. Maybe you took suggestions before the game. Maybe you and your pitcher, Andy Pettit, sat down before the game, or whoever was throwing to you that game. But man, oh man, is there no gut baseball left? No. I mean, remember when we were growing up, you hear even your father who was coaching you, he came to you last time. You know what I mean? Meaning he grounded out to short, or, move over 3 feet because he went to right. He can't get around on you. Now we're down to, we're going to computerize because you can't see my fingernails. We went from our fingers to painting them white, painting them orange, painting yellow. Every catcher's lit up like a Christmas tree with his equipment right now. But now we're literally going to send signals. I mean, the Morse code is going to go out to the pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, and again, it's only been 5 games, from what I'm hearing, some of the pitchers actually really, really like it. I would not like it. I would say, first of all, it says 4-seam fastball or 2-seam fastball. What about 4-seam fastball, high in the strike zone? I want to just give a guy a look.
Right.
Up for the next pitch. Where is that pitching style gone? Where is that? It just kills me. And again, Tommy, I am not an old school guy that says it has to be this way. But man, they're getting to a point where you might as well just run robots out there.
Well, they want to run robots out there to even the game. You could argue even that, come on, that's part of baseball too. The arguing that, yeah, they're human. They're going to miss a call. I love the replay, but are we really going to go to robots and call strikes and balls now? Come on, give me a break. I mean, this is I don't know. It's so weird to look down. They're talking about the pace of the game, and the catcher last night, Yankee catcher, is putting his mitt over this little whatever device it is and punching in the Morse code to his pitcher. Does he shake him off, or he just has to go with it at that point?
You know what? Again, I'm not sure how it works. David Cohn was giving a little tutorial last night on it. I caught about 5 minutes of it. But I just don't understand it. I don't understand. Again, you can give a pitch, but you're not giving location. You're not giving the purpose of the pitch. Why am I throwing that pitch? I'm watching these catchers set up. I mean, there were times that I would set up a 6 inches off the plate just for a purpose pitch.
Right.
And I just don't see that happening anymore. I don't see, you definitely don't see a pitcher knocking somebody down, because even a fastball that's inside corner, the players are looking at the pitcher like, what are you doing throwing at me?
I know, it's unbelievable. And, to your point, and then there's, again, the new experts, you shouldn't do a purpose pitch. That means you'll have 15 extra pitches. And because God forbid somebody should throw over 70 pitchers, not Max or any of those guys. They're throwing 120 pitches still. But yeah, I think the game is getting so, they're drowning them with this technology and these stats instead of heart and talent and know-how. You're playing the game since you're 4 years old. You know that if you go up inside on a guy that has the long swing, he's going to have trouble. You don't need somebody from the bench telling you that.
Yeah, so Tommy, last night I'm at the game. I'm sitting in my seats behind home plate, and it's so funny that, I would have thought I would have heard this from a Red Sox fan, but this was actually a Toronto fan, and it's probably one of the funniest comebacks I have ever heard. So I'm sitting there, and George Springer comes up before he hits the home run, and the Yankee fans start screaming, "Cheater, cheater, cheater." Right. And the guy behind me, right, this is before he hit the home run, like 2 pitches later, he hits the home run. Before he hits the home run, the Toronto fan says, "Hey, shut up. You hired Beltran in the booth. What do you care?"
So true. I mean, I don't. Again, we talk about consistency. Where's the consistency there? I just don't know what's going on. Whatever. Beltran may go on to be the best announcer they ever had, but he didn't get off to a very good start, by the way. And what he said about Judge wasn't true because he didn't sign. And it's a complete, oh God, it's just craziness. I mean, it's just crazy. You're going to the Ranger game tonight? Who they playing?
They're playing Carolina for first place.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be, there's, I think, 8 games left in the season. And right now they're playing for first place.
There is 8 games left in the season. It is also worth noting, since we are in the Tampa market, that the Lightning could clinch a playoff spot as soon as tonight with a win over Dallas.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep, and you're 100% correct. Us being in the Tampa market, and like we said, we are on a Tampa sports radio show, and maybe we don't throw enough red meat to our friends down there, but we know there's a lot of New York, New Jersey. But Robert and I went to a Tampa game a couple weeks ago and loved it. Couldn't have been a better atmosphere, safe, affordable. But Matty, my boy, I know you're an Islander fan. There is nothing like the blue sweaters and going to Madison Square Garden and watching a Ranger game. Correct, James?
Truth be told, I've never actually been to a Ranger game at MSG. I've seen the Rangers in person once. That was at Nassau Coliseum playing the Islanders, but I've never been to a Ranger game at MSG.
So do you know what Potvin sucks means?
Yes, I do. I know the origin behind it. It was from one body check that Potvin threw at MSG in 75, breaking the ankle of one of the Rangers' star players, and Ranger fans to this day still will not let him forget about it.
You're so right.
So, yes. So, Matt, I will tell you, I keep a close eye on the Tampa Bay Lightning, only because, selfishly, Jeff Vinnick, I am trying to get his title work.
All right.
There. I need an end with Jeff Vinnick.
Matty, we got to get him on the show. Hey, the funny thing about the Potvin sucks thing, 50 years later, right? Yeah, 50 years later, the Ranger fans just sporadically will come out and start. It has nothing to do with it. The best was, though, Robin and I are at the Lightning game, and we had Tampa shirts on, and she had a Tampa hat on, but we were sitting among 40 or 50 Ranger fans. And in Tampa, those fans started yelling, "Potvin sucks." And Robin's like, "Who's Potvin?" I had to explain the whole story to her. I just think it's a hysterical tradition.
Who's Potvin? Really?
Yep, she didn't know. It was her first hockey game.
Okay, all right. That's it. That's her first hockey game. Robin, I'll cut you a break.
Yep, it was her first hockey game. Hey, Adam, our engineer, Adam, how your Tigers making out? I think it was the only day game. What's the update?
Not very great today, man. They lost to the Red Sox 5-3. I'm a little upset about that, but it's all right.
They've been playing pretty good.
Yeah, we're going back against them tomorrow, so we'll see if we can pick it back up. We won against them yesterday.
Well, we don't like anybody that we don't root for the Red Sox at any cause, but I like Detroit. Jimmy, what do you think about them? They got some young blood on there, and they're doing pretty good.
I mean, listen, they're off their 2-3 start, and it's interesting. I like them, but again, they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Adam, it's going to be a long year for your boys.
For sure.
Jimmy, what happens when you're a veteran and you get stuck on a rebuilding team and obviously you'd rather go to a team that's got a shot in the playoffs and whatever, do you become a father figure at 36, 37, 38 years old if you're on the Tigers or you're on, I don't think anybody wants to play in Baltimore anymore, but what's that feeling like if you've ever experienced it or talked to one of your buddies that were traded to a team that's rebuilding?
Well, you got to realize, like Miguel Cabrera is a perfect example. Here he is on the team. Here's a guy that's, a couple hits away from 3,000.
Right.
And he is kept there because they feel like, he can help these younger players, because, just because that veteran leadership that he can bring. It'll be, like I said, it'll be great for these kids that are coming up to see an accomplishment like 3,000 hits. Because anytime you watch somebody get 3,000 hits, if you're on that team, you realize the work that it took to get there, and you take a little different appreciation for the team that you're playing for.
Yeah.
Hold on. Before we go any further, hang on. I want to do this properly. Before we put her on the air, we have a special guest calling on the phone line.
I am the star of the show, Robin Delory.
Oh, goodness gracious. And I'm gonna let her report in, but I'm gonna say, speaking of getting 3,000 hits, Jimmy Leyritz stayed at our house one night, and I think Endzone Filippone, who's now a baseball player, is like 7 for 8 with 4 doubles. And what happened today, Delory?
One single, one home run, and then I don't know what to call this. It's definitely a single, but he made it to first. So the guy on third got out at home, though. So what is that exactly? So,
Jimmy, you want to explain that to her? And can you talk up, Delory?
Yeah, I didn't hear it very well.
She said that he hit a home run so far. He's on fire. Since you left our house, since you told him to keep his hands back, he's 7 for 8. But today he's hit a homer. He's got a single. This is Mike Filippone, New Jersey high school baseball senior athlete who was one of the best football players in New Jersey. But his mother is reporting that he's got a home run, a single, and then he hit the ball, and he made it to first, but the runner at home got tagged out. What would that be, Jimmy? You want to educate her?
No, you can tell.
That would be a fielder's choice, my wife, and that doesn't count as a hit, so he's 2 for 3 right now.
2 for 3, Robin.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a very stressful game right now. 5th inning, and the guests are beating us 4 to 3. And Michael is tense. He looks like a powder keg. He threw his helmet because he's very passionate.
Yes, passion. Yeah, Jersey passion.
He's making some great plays in the field. I don't really know what else to say except it's a beautiful day here in New Jersey. And
he beat up any water coolers like Paul O'Neill used to do in the dugout.
If there was one, he probably did, but I couldn't see it. It wasn't in my view. Now, let me ask you, hon, on another level here, on a totally different subject.
Yep.
You were very heated when I left the house today, and I was wondering if you really got out what you wanted to get out about today, about how upset you were.
About the shooting in New York again?
Yes.
Yeah, because I put myself in the position, not as a former cop. I put myself, Jimmy and I talked about it, and our listeners, and I'm getting text messages about it. It's not about Jimmy or I or the citizens, and everybody knows the risks they take in today's world. But it brings me to tears almost at the thought that my freshman daughter at Fordham University is over there, and I just want to go over there, take her, and get her out of harm's way and bring her home. I'm so sick and tired of these animals that are out there taking innocent lives. And that's why I was heated. That's why I was emotional. And it didn't help that we were with her 3 beautiful friends the other night from the school. So too close for comfort. And even one step further, Rob, you and I and Joey were at the Brooklyn Nets game the other night. And like Jimmy said, it's right there. And this is a subway that our partner Jimmy takes every day. So for the grace to God, it could have been one of us or our children or our friends, and it's just making me sick. I can't take it.
No, I agree 100%. I was just hoping that you evoked all of that passion to the listeners because I liked your passion and I liked your message and what you were saying.
Well, thank you. And we had the great detective retired Chip the Block on from Tampa, Donnie DeLuca from Miami. And the bottom line is we're all affected throughout the country because, like Jimmy said, we got to put our head on a swivel right now. We got to pay attention to what's going on. And another thing that bothers me, Robin, you and I discussed it earlier today before you left. There's 4 schools right in this perimeter, and they take the subways to school. And our very special guest, Viggy Ziegler, she lives in the city. Her daughter goes to school in the city. All these things run through my mind. And then my chest swells up with pride thinking of all these cops running down those stairs to the subway, ready to save lives, ready to take a bullet, ready to administer aid to the people that are injured. It's just an emotional day when you see this crap. And you know what? It's unfortunate, and I hope I'm wrong, but next week somewhere in the country, it'll happen again.
Right.
So go ahead, enjoy the baseball game. Jimmy and I will bring it home from here. Tell Michael I need to hear about a winning hit with a home team.
Okay, will do.
All right, honey.
Bye, everyone.
You know, Jimmy, not to relive that because we want to keep it on a high as we're going off today, but it really is that. The more you think about it, the more you read. I know you're checking it. I'm checking it. Adam's looking at it. And Matt's looking at the news. And it's hard to talk sports when stuff like this happens today. It's hard to stay focused. And I am emotional about it because you and I were just at a game, and I had my baby girl there at 19. And I said to my daughter today, we made a quick visit to the grandchildren, and I said, babe, I can't wait to take Max, bop, bop, bop. And she said, Dad, you're never taking Max over to a baseball game right now the way things are. He's 2 years old. You know, and you know what? That's sad, man. That's sad. But she's right. She's right.
Oh, you know what it is? You're over there in Jersey. I'm here in the city. It was just like 9/11. When I saw 9/11 on TV, I didn't feel it. But when I came to New York 7 days later and I saw it,
yeah.
Here, when this happened, I'm right down the street from where it happened. And to me, to see that, this morning when it happened, I took a walk that way, and to see the stations, the yellow tape everywhere.
Yeah.
Closing, and they had to close our station, which is 3 stations away, because you just never know. You never know what's going to happen, and they don't know where this guy's
30
at.
seconds.
It's just different when you're around it and through it, and you do realize just how unfortunate these things are. And like you said, they're going to keep happening, unfortunately.
We're going to break in about 30 seconds, but, and to how it affects you, I have a son-in-law that works in New York City, and my daughter called me, and I had just gotten in the car, and all this was breaking, and she said, Dad, and when your kid's voice is of concern. She said, Dad, can you please find out what should Danny do? Should he leave now? Should he leave the city? How should he get home? Should he Uber? Like, even at 30 years old, to hear her voice crackling on the phone because she's worried about her husband, it's that moment, not to the extent of 9/11, but we're reliving it all again. And again, to all our fans in Tampa and Clearwater and St. Pete, I know you got family back here. Ugly day in New York City. We'll come back. You're on the Big 8, 727-518-0820. Good to hear my wife's voice and the report that everybody's doing good at the old high school game. But we'll end it with a little more football, a little more baseball when we come back on the Big 8.
More now with the King and the Cop.
What are they talking about?
What are we talking about? A lot. It's some sad news from New York City today, but we're trying to talk a little sports too. On a lighter note, Jimmy, A-Rod, how do you think A-Rod feels? J-Lo's engaged already.
You know what?
I just got to throw the other 13 a shot right now. He lost J-Lo.
I think he used her for what he needed. He got himself back on the good side. He was invited to things that he would normally probably would have never been invited to, just because he was with her, and what she did to help promote his new career. I think he got enough out of it.
It's the best thing that ever happened to her. I don't know, man. Jenny from the block. She's a real New Yorker, unlike A-Rod. Anyway.
Wonder about, there's three women that I shake my head every time when I hear stuff like this. One is her, J-Lo, Charlize Theron, and the other is Jennifer Aniston.
Right. I thought you were going to throw Halle Berry in there too, who was married to one of your former teammates.
Oh yeah, and I know how psycho she was. As far as from his side of it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I shake my head going, what is so off that they can't have, find a relationship that actually works? But it must be the Hollywood thing that it's just difficult. But going back to Ben Affleck, maybe that's who she should have been with the whole entire time. And
yeah, well, I mean, it ends well, so good for them. I don't know. I did have the pleasure of going to lunch with Shaquille O'Neal and his uncle, and we were sitting there out in the Beverly Hotel, and in walks Miss J-Lo, and she was just newly single from Mark Anthony, and Shaq was also, and he was just trying to convince her to marry him. It was the funniest thing in the world, Shaq being Shaq, but couldn't have been more beautiful, couldn't have been more pleasant, and she's one hell of a talent. So congratulations to them. Jimmy, what's going to happen? And you're going to the game tonight, but the Yankees, how's Judge? How do you think he's going to handle this? One home run, and then all of a sudden they love him again, right?
Listen, yeah, exactly. This is New York. It's what have you done for me lately? And that's what I love about it so much. It is that every day they expect you to bring your best. And when you don't, they're going to let you know it. That's the greatest thing about playing in here, Philadelphia, anywhere you play. I think, like I said, Aaron Judge is, he's going to snap out of it. He's going to get a hot streak. It's baseball. We always say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
It's early on, and it's hard not to get upset as a fan, because you're playing against your first two biggest rivals in your division that are going to be battling you all year. You want to kind of get off to a good start, but I can always tell people this. 2009, when the Yankees won the World Series, they swept the Red Sox in a 5-game series in September, and that's what gave them the opportunity. So you never know. Just remember the Bucky Dent home run, the comeback they had that year. These teams will be battling all year, all the time, and I'm going to pray and hope that in September, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Joey Gallo are hot, and we get an opportunity to beat these teams, because we'll play these same teams in September.
And they will need to be hot and healthy for that to be accomplished. But I think the Yankees did your best. Why don't you go sit with Mr. Cashman there, Mr. Judge, and get this thing over with? And I bet you'll feel better. Put this thing behind you. And as much as you say that you're going to turn the switch and go out there and play now, there is no way that any individual cannot have this on his mind, especially after you strike out or pop up, even if you're 1 for 3, that they're yelling you're a bum, take the $200 million, So I think that's part of it too. With that being said, he's not ice cold, for goodness sakes. He missed a home run by inches the other night. And, but we as New York fans like to beat the bejesus out of you when you're not batting 1,000 or scoring 5 touchdowns. But what are you looking for at the Ranger game tonight? You think there'll be I think the Rangers are a class act. I'm sure they'll address or have a silent moment for the people in New York City, but then it'll be business as usual. What are the Rangers' chances this year? You think they're going to press up against the Lightning, or you think the Lightning can pull off a three-peat?
Yeah, I mean, the Lightning are playing great. The Panthers are playing great. It's going to be an interesting battle for the Cup. And again, the one thing, the hardest thing to win in all of sports is the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Almost a month of playoffs. I mean, I think it actually is a whole month of playoffs.
Yeah. And
it has to be the most grueling month for these players. And he got, talking to Messier, talking to Leach, friends with all these guys, Danico and all those guys that have won. They said the hardest thing that they've ever done in their life is win this Stanley Cup. And I think the Rangers, they're going to get to the point where they're competing for it. But it's going to be a battle.
Like baseball, it's a very long season and physical, obviously, very physical. We take it for granted. These guys are packing themselves in ice for a little bit after each game. And, and then you could say, oh, they make this kind of money and they're this and that. You know what? They're still hurting, man. They're hurting out there at this time of year, like you guys are come August and early September. And then you got to reboot, hit yourself with a little baseball defibrillator and get going again for the playoffs. It's not easy to turn it on and off.
No. And again, it's the thing with hockey, it's a sport that requires recovery. And during Stanley Cup championships, these games are back to back, and it's a grind.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy that tonight. I'll be interested to see if the Yankees rebound. Mets are up for they're playing their ex-teammate. Wheeler's pitching against the Mets, I believe, tonight. That's going to be a tough game for them. He's been lights out, last year. And, you're wondering if they're regretting not signing him, especially since their blonde-headed superstar went out with the Angels.
I'll go back to hockey real quick.
Go ahead.
So if you Google, and I just did it just because I wanted to see myself, if you Google hardest trophy to win in sports, it comes up Stanley Cup.
Yeah. And why, though? Is it because of the long season and physical beatdown?
I think it's because it's the way they have to. They're playing so many games back to back, which they don't do during the season.
Right.
I think that's the main thing. It's just a grind. It's the hardest month grind in their sport.
Well, it's also 4 7-game series, and you have to win 16 games from the first round all the way through the finals to win the Cup.
Right.
You know what? Yeah, you're right, Matt.
Plus, Brendan Shanahan has had one of the greatest quotes ever for "Is hockey hard?" He was asked that by a reporter one day, and he said, "I don't know. You tell me. We need to have the strength and power of a football player, the stamina of a marathon runner, and the concentration of a brain surgeon. But we need to put all of this together while moving at high speeds on a cold and slippery surface while 5 other guys try to chase us down with clubs and kill us. Oh, yeah. And did I mention this whole time we're having standing on blades an 1/8 of an inch thick? Is hockey hard? I don't know. You tell me. Next question."
That's hysterical. It's true, too. I mean, what you see on TV and what you see in person, whole different animal, right, Jimmy? When you're watching a hockey game in person, it's fast moving and it's some serious physical abuse to each other out there.
Right. Yeah, it's again, I hanging out with these guys for many, many years because they all lived in the city also. To just see, hang out with them after a game and just realize how much pain they're actually in. And, I always said to them that you're lucky you don't have to play every day like us.
Yeah.
A day or two to recover before you got to play again. But you don't have that luxury during the
in a couple minutes, we're going to be done for the day. I hate to minimize this, but life goes on. People are going to go to hockey games and baseball games tonight, but Tampa and Florida and major cities and all, the United States turned on that TV today and saw another tragedy. And I can't help think as we end this day that people got up this morning and all they did was try to go to work. They didn't enlist in the Army. They didn't enlist in the police department. They didn't ask to be a fighter jet pilot. They just went about their business. And a subway door opened, and there were fireworks and booms and bangs. And then the next thing you know, they're laying there fighting for their lives. Again, on behalf of Jimmy and Robin and I and the Big 8 Radio and Tampa, Florida, God bless these first responders. Thank God so far, still no reported deaths. Thank you, Don DeLuca, Miami Beach Chief, retired, for your insight on this. Thank you, retired Detective Tampa, Chip DeBlock, for your insight on this. I hope tomorrow's a better day. I'm sure it will be. It's one great thing about America. There's nothing we ever turned our back on. We fight the fight every day. We fear no one. We fear no country. And I just say to our kids, it's going to be okay. Because someday you'll grow up and you'll be the ones that are the first responders and protecting us. So I'm going to end this on a sentimental God Bless America. Not the song, but for me and Jimmy and Robin, everybody stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel. And let's get back tomorrow and get back to normal and talk some sports. For Jimmy Leyritz, Robin Delory, Tommy Setner, you're listening to the Big 8 Radio, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.